no one really needs to cooperate as well.
That's it. It's quite often the case, isn't it, when a couple of teams are riding, 2 or 3 teams, or even one team riding on the front, they're doing a good job, and the gap is starting to come down. That means everybody else can sit back, save their resources for the final.
Who took it in the end. He was a little bit in front of Bettendorf the last time we saw them, but they're back together in this group. Let's see how quickly the cooperation starts up again, because this is always a moment that could cause some confusion, with especially those 2 riders just doing a full-out sprint. They'll probably feel out on the legs, so they might not be too happy to work too hard right now.
Yeah, definitely. I was wondering whether they were going to continue with that effort. Work as a unit right now, isn't it? They need those 6 legs to keep that pace as high as they can for as long as they can, and then start racing the back end of the circuit. But right now, this bunch seems to have a lot of momentum.
Yeah, I think they definitely need to work together to get as big of a gap as possible to get onto that circuit, and then it starts to get more technical. But the roads are just fairly wide; they're fairly straight as well. It's quite easy to...
They get a very capable rider indeed. He's the man just on the front, just making way for Dean Harvey. And there's a good shot of Harvey. Elbows at arms at 90 degrees. Super aero. Now this is one thing. You talked about the lack of radios here, which I think is a massively important thing. Now, how will these riders be able to communicate? There's no other way apart from dropping back. So a lot of faith is given to these riders, isn't it, in terms of making sure they stick to a plan.
Figure out who that is a bit later, but a couple of riders joining that. Looks like it might be Archie Ryan already trying to latch onto this move. So it's actually the favourites already for the GC who are attacking right now. Don't know how they're going to close 2 minutes and 40 seconds on that breakaway in the last 24 Ks in a small group, but it looks like the race is on. I think he's on the attack, which is a surprise because he's actually the main sprinter in this field. So interesting move from Luke Lamperti and the American team. Maybe he doesn't feel like he's got the team to chase this down and he's going to do it himself.
Certainly could be the case with only 20 Ks to go. Meanwhile, up in front, they'll know that the lead has started to crumble. But what they will know behind is that there is a real lack of cohesion. Well, in fact, they won't know that. All they can see is the time gap. They won't be getting information from the radio just to inform them of how things are going behind. But this little splinter group going off the front, it does look like it is indeed Lamperti. He's been running a specialised bike. I noticed the big S on his head tube. So Lamperti on the front. He's got a rider from Great Britain with him. As soon as we can recognise him, I'll let you know. But we're just coming to the 20 kilometres to go point, and this little duo have opened up a decent lead.
Yeah, it's a good lead, but it's going to be difficult to close that gap with just the 2 of them. It's actually Max Walker who's made it into this group, but 2 riders against a group of 5 riders. You know, the 5 riders obviously tired from the whole day's racing, but you know, it's just 2 riders. It's going to be very difficult to close that down if no one else comes across to the 2 of them.
Well, it is indeed Max Walker and Luke Lamperti, both teammates at Trinity Racing. Max Walker fresh off the back of a 9th place finish at the Under-23 World Road Race Championships. As we look once more at the competition of our group out in front. Villa, Thierry, FOLDAGER, Bettendorf and Villa. That is the group out in front, 5 strong. And they've got a lead of about 1.5 minutes with just under 20 kilometres to go. And the group trying to get across, although it's a big ask, Max Walker and Luke Lamperti, both of the same continental team, but both riding for their respective nations. And that was interesting. Lamperti not willing to work with Walker unless he's actually starting to suffer. And that quite often happens. Might just need that little bit of an opportunity to rest up. But most of Lamperti's wins, actually, I think looking back at all of Lamperti's wins, have all come from group finishes, haven't they?
Yeah, he is a sprinter mostly. You know, he's not known for his time trialing ability. He's not known for his climbing. He's mostly a sprinter. That's why he's gone to that Soudal Quickstep team for next year. So it's a very interesting move to see him on the attack, which indicates that either he's not confident.
Schmidt now gets into that aero tuck. It does appear to be a little bit more organisation behind, but I fear, Jens, that they have left it too late. I just think there's too much road to make up, and the group out in front, clearly they're going to be hurting, but they seem to have that little bit of momentum, although we've got that little climb to come, and that's where they've been losing a little bit of time. That's where it appears they've lost most time each up this circuit each time.
Yeah, we're going to have to see whether they can bring the gap back as much as possible on the climb, but I don't think even 10 seconds might be too much to bring back on that descent, because it's really fast downhill, and then it's just about 700 or 800 meters left after the descent ends. So this is the breakaway starting that final climb. It's not steep, it's not that long, but it might just be enough for someone to use as a launch pad towards this group from inside the peloton. That's maybe the chance, or someone's going to have to really commit to chasing this down for a sprinter.
They certainly are. Well, this group looking good. It looks as if Schmidt now is going to be taken back by the peloton. Looks to be a little bit more organisation behind, but I fear that they have left it too late. 3.8 Ks to go for the 5 riders in front. This is the opening stage of the Tour de l'Avenir, the Tour of the Future. We started earlier on today in Carnac, and we are now in the small town of La Guissy in the region of Morbihan. The 59th edition of this wonderful race, giving us a glimpse of the stars of the future, many of them stars already in their own right. And we have 5 stars out in front. Pierre Thierry is the man sat in second wheel at the moment, the local lad from this particular region. Loic Bettendorf of Luxembourg is also there. We've got the Polish rider Mikkel Pomorski. What can he do today? Giacomo Villa is there for Italy. And then rounding out the group from Denmark, Anders FOLDAGER, an exceptionally gifted rider, good on Zwift as well. We've seen him ride esports particularly well. FOLDAGER as well has got a real kick on him. And there's an attack on the right-hand side from the group. 3.2 kilometers to go, and there's a big move on the right-hand side, and it looks like it's the man from Luxembourg who's gone.
Yeah, it's a really big move. The British team seem to be chasing in the peloton, but it might be too late if the group out front is moving this hard. No real separation, though, in that front group.
No, it didn't manage to split them. It's a fast climb. The rider struggling at the back was Mikkel Pomorski, but I think he's managed to latch on to the wheel in front. 2.8 Ks to go. It is indeed a Great Britain now riding hard on the front to try and bring this gap down, perhaps to open things up for Max Walker or Rob Donaldson. And it's back together. There's a little bit of hesitation here as they pause and take a breath. FOLDAGER moves through to the front. They've stripped out the time gap here. I think it definitely has gone down a little bit, probably around 20 or 30 seconds. Apologies for the lack of time back gap. And what that does do is just add that little bit more intrigue, a little bit more tension to proceedings here. This is a nail-biter.
Yeah, I think the time gap has dropped right down, and the pace in the peloton has gone up even more with one of the Swiss riders attacking. I think they're going to definitely come very close. The question is, are they going to get there, or are they just going to miss out?
Yep, 25 seconds it's saying, and they're closing now. It looks like Germany are getting involved as well in the chase. They're one of the teams, along with Switzerland, who are doing the chasing earlier on. I certainly think the gap, as you alluded to, Jens, is less now than 25 seconds, 2 kilometers to go, and there's another big attack on the left-hand side. There's also a move here from the Italian, Villa, who has gone pursued straight away by Pierre Thierry of France. Latching on to the Frenchman wheel is FOLDAGER of Denmark. Just behind then, in the red and white, is Pomorski, and the last man on the back, who's been pretty quick taking the points at the intermediate sprint, and the king of Luxembourg. Here is the bunch behind. Still, they are moving quickly, but they have not managed to eat too much into the lead of the riders out in front as they almost head now into the finishing straight, Jens.
Yeah, less than 20 seconds on the road, I think, but it could all be too late with just over a kilometer to go. These are the final corners. There's just one more left-hand turn, I think, left before the finish line. Just timed it in this corner, 14 seconds, so they really have to keep going. They can't do this. They can't really stall at the moment. This is the final turn. Bettendorf trying to make a move into the finish straight. He wants the top 5, but someone's going to have to keep this pace high, or the group's going to come back with the pace being on here.
Now the pace they carried, there's only about 10 seconds in it now. This could come back together. And there's a rider that's just jumped off the front at the moment. This is absolutely fascinating stuff. Let's get back to the front of the race. Are they still riding together now? They're just going to come through to the finishing straight now. Opens up in front of them. What a wonderful shot here. There is the group on the left-hand side. And only 50, 60 metres behind is the peloton. What a thrilling opening stage of the Tour de Lavenir. There's a possibility they could get caught, but I think this is the sprint. They are going to stay away. It looks like it's FOLDAGER in the centre. Vila on the right-hand side, but it's FOLDAGER who takes the win for Denmark. The bunch behind only a handful of seconds. What a win it was in the end. A win for Denmark on the opening stage of the Tour de l'Avenir here in La Kasih. That was an absolute thriller.
Yeah, breakaway win on the first day of the Tour de l'Avenir, and this is what we like to see. Full gas racing from these under-23s. FOLDAGER with the best sprint from that small group. We sort of expected it. You named him as your favorite, I think, from that group, and rightly so. He was the fastest rider there. Just holding on to that lead in the final lap. It was a pretty incredible finish there.
In the centre, Vila on the right-hand side, but it's FOLDAGER who takes the win for Denmark. The bunch behind only a handful of seconds.